Will UFC 313 be an instant classic or will it be mid? I hope for our sakes it's an all-time classic. In the first fight, we have Djorden Santos versus Ozzy Diaz. Santos is 27 years old, 10-1, 5-0 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 5 months ago. Santos lands 5.67 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 2.73. He has a 64% finish rate and is a -185 favorite. Ozzy Diaz is 34 years old, 9-3, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a KO loss 3 months ago. Diaz lands 2.21 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.74. He has a 75% finish rate and is a +155 underdog. Santos will be making his UFC debut after getting a contract off Dana White's Contender Series. Ozzy Diaz is coming off a brutal KO loss 3 months ago. How will he rebound? Diaz does get hit a lot and he doesn't really have much head movement, but he will enjoy a 4-inch reach advantage, and I think that will definitely help him. But I'm just gonna go with Santos here. I like his output, coupled with Diaz's lack of head movement, just makes sense to me. What's up, everybody? Crossover MMA back in here for another video. Now let's get back to the action. In the next fight, we have Mairon Santos versus Francis Marshall. Santos is 24 years old, 15-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a KO win 6 months ago. Santos lands 4.77 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 1.85. He has a 50% finish rate and is a -375 favorite. Marshall is 25 years old, 8-2, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 6 months ago. Marshall lands 3.69 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.16. He has a 50% finish rate and is a +290 underdog. This is a matchup of 2 young guns in the UFC. Santos is a striker with big power in his hands. Marshall, on the other hand, is a little bit more of a grappler with 4 submission wins on his resume. I think Santos will have to defend some takedowns here and keep the fight on the feet. Marshall does average over 2.5 takedowns per 15 minutes. I'm gonna go with Santos. I think he's gonna do a good job of keeping it on the feet, and I think he's gonna get the job done. In the next fight, we have Alex Morono versus Carlos Leal. Morono is 34 years old, 24-11, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision loss 4 months ago. Morono lands 4.96 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.56. He has a 37% finish rate and is a +430 underdog. Leal is 30 years old, 21-6, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision loss 4 months ago. Leal lands 7.13 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 7.27. He has a 44% finish rate and is a -600 favorite. Leal is coming off a robbery loss at UFC 308, but showed he's very well-rounded and possesses skills wherever the fight goes. Morono, on the other side, is a very awkward striker that uses a lot of lateral footwork to lull his opponents to sleep and then blitz in with strikes. Morono's style definitely takes some getting used to, and it definitely takes his opponents time to adjust to it. I can see Morono having success early with his awkward style, but as he slows down in some of his previous fights, that's typically is when he starts to get caught a little bit and he's more flat-footed. And I think that's how this fight's gonna go. I see him coming out early, having success with a lot of the footwork and the movement, but eventually as he slows down, Leal is just gonna start to land more strikes. So I'm gonna go with Carlos Leal. In the next fight, we have Bruno Ferreira versus Arman Petrosyan. Ferreira's 32 years old, 12-2, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a submission loss 4 months ago. Ferreira lands 3.76 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.12. He has an 86% finish rate and is a +135 underdog. Petrosyan is 34 years old, 9-4, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, coming off a KO loss 4 months ago. Petrosyan lands 5.95 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.36. He has a 46% finish rate and is a -165 favorite. Both men are coming off getting finished on the same night, believe it or not. So it'll be interesting to see which one has regrouped and gotten back into a good place mentally. Ferreira is a brawler that gets into wars, and Petrosyan is more of a volume striker. Ferreira, on the other side, has big power in his hands and looks to get guys out of there early. Petrosyan is more of a point fighter and looks to control the pace and the range in his fights. I'm gonna go with the power here, and I'm just gonna go with Bruno Ferreira. Also, with Petrosyan coming off that double back fist KO, I just think Ferreira's just gonna touch that chin and get him out of there. In the next fight, we have Joshua Vann versus Tsuruya. Vann is 23 years old, 12-2, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 2 months ago. Vann lands 8.88 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 5.82, is a 57% finish rate, and is a -190 favorite. Tsuruya is 22 years old, 10-0, coming off a decision win 8 months ago. Tsuruya lands 2.28 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 1.31. He has an 80% finish rate and is a +160 underdog. Tsuruya is a heavy grappler as he averages almost 5.5 takedowns per 15 minutes. Vann, on the other hand, is a high volume striker that likes to get into wars. I think in this fight, Vann will be coming forward, fighting on the front foot, and this will make Tsuruya's grappling a lot tougher as he's gonna be on the back foot. And as we've seen with wrestlers, if they're not coming forward, it's hard for them to get takedowns. 2025 has proven to be the year of fighters losing their oath. I'm gonna go with Joshua Vann. I like his volume and that 81% takedown defense, and I think he's just gonna get it done on the feet. In the next fight, we have Blaydes versus Rizivan Kuniev. Blaydes is 34 years old, 18-5, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO loss 7 months ago. Blaydes lands 3.54 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 1.91, has a 57% finish rate, and is a -330 favorite. Kuniev is 32 years old, 12-2-1, 5-0 in his last 5 fights, coming off a KO win 6 months ago. Kuniev lands 5.82 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 1.25, has a 53% finish rate, and is a +250 underdog. Blaydes is making his return and fighting the unranked Kuniev. I'm not really understanding how this fight got made or what really is the point, seeing as though Blaydes is the number 5 heavyweight in the world. Kuniev is really getting thrown into the deep end after winning on Dana White's Contender Series 6 months ago. It's a great opportunity to inject some new blood into the heavyweight division that is very short on contenders at the moment. Both men are grapplers. Blaydes also has heavy hands though. I'm curious to see if Kuniev can implement his grappling on Blaydes, but as we know, Blaydes' Achilles heel has always been big power punchers, so this should be very interesting seeing as Kuniev is a grappler. I'm gonna go with Blaydes. I just think the experience is just gonna be too much, and it's too much too soon for Kuniev. In the next fight, we have Bobby King Green versus Mauricio Ruffy. Green is 38 years old, 32, 16-1, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a submission loss 7 months ago. Green lands 6.43 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.73. He has a 41% finish rate and is a +420 underdog. Ruffy is 28 years old, 11-1, 5-0 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 3 months ago. Ruffy lands 4.7 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.76. He has an 83% finish rate and is a -590 favorite. This is a striker's delight right here. We just got 2 very flashy strikers. Bobby Green with his hands down and Mauricio Ruffy with his no-look left hooks. Ruffy is another one of the fighting nerds, so this guy has a lot of hype behind him. Bobby Green is really starting to serve as a gatekeeper for the young up-and-coming fighters now. So this is another test to see if Ruffy can get over this hump. It should be a fun striker's delight as Bobby still has some speed on the feet. I think Ruffy's power would give Bobby some problems in this fight, as well as the 4-inch reach advantage for Ruffy. I think the youth for Ruffy is just gonna be too much for Bobby Green, so I'm going with Mauricio Ruffy. In the next fight, we have Amanda Lemos versus Iasmin Lucindo. Lemos is 37 years old, 14-4-1, 3-2 in her last 5 fights, coming off a submission loss 7 months ago. Lemos lands 3.16 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.87. She has a 58% finish rate and is a +110 underdog. She's 23 years old, 17-5, 4-1 in her last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 4 months ago. Lucindo lands 3.52 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 2.91. She has a 50% finish rate and is a -130 favorite. Amanda Lemos is one of the few women at strawweight with actual KO power in her hands. She's on the wrong side of 35, but she's been in there with the best, with the top of the division in Weili Zhang, Werner Jandiroba, and Mackenzie Dern. I can see Amanda Lemos landing that big right hand on Lucindo, but in most WMMA fights, the fight does go to the ground at some point. And I think Lemos still has a hole in her game in the grappling. I can see this fight playing out with Lemos landing on the feet and Lucindo getting a taste of that power, and then it's like, all right, I gotta grapple. And getting Lemos down to the ground and controlling her. This isn't a confident pick, but I'm going to go with Iasmin Lucindo. In the next fight, we have Jalin Turner versus Ignacio Bahamondes. Turner's 29 years old, 14-8, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO loss 10 months ago. Turner lands 5.6 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.57. He has a 64% finish rate, and this is a pick'em fight. Bahamondes is 27 years old, 16-5, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO win 5 months ago. Bahamondes lands 7.17 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.41. He has a 57% finish rate. We have 2 massive lightweights who both are used to having a height and reach advantage in their fights. Both their styles are very geared towards using their length. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out with both guys fighting someone their same size. Jalin Turner definitely has been in there with the better competition, but Bahamondes looked really good in his last fight against Manuel Torres. Both guys fight fairly safe and don't overextend much. Jalin Turner's fight IQ and his heart have come into question in his last few fights. Where will his head be in this fight, and will that experience pay dividends in this fight? I think Jalin Turner will be slightly faster and have slightly a bit more power, but Bahamondes just comes forward and he's a game opponent. I think Jalin Turner has the overall better skills in my opinion, but I'm just not sure if he has that dog in him. Bahamondes on the other side definitely has that dog in him, and I really like it. This is a really tough pick, but I'm going to go with Jalin Turner. I think the experience of fighting such high-level guys and taking the time off is going to allow him to come back with a good showing, but this is a very close fight, people. In the co-main event, we have Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev 2. Justin Gaethje's 36 years old, 25-5, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a KO loss 10 months ago. Gaethje lands 6.78 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 7.46. He has a 70% finish rate and is a plus 105 underdog. He is 31 years old, 12-3, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO loss 17 months ago. Fiziev lands 4.9 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.97. He has a 60% finish rate and is a minus 130 favorite. This is a rematch to one of the best fights of 2023. Justin Gaethje's coming back from a brutal against Max Holloway at UFC 300. Fiziev on the other side is coming back from a serious knee injury as well. It's going to be interesting to see how both men fight coming back. In the first fight, Fiziev came out getting the better of Gaethje early with his speed and explosiveness. Gaethje did make adjustments in the second round and then started using his jab and uppercuts, and he pretty much just used those to get the win. Both guys staying right in front of their opponents. Gaethje just looks to brawl and fight his opponent's will. And as we know, Gaethje, he's all about the chaos and just being calm in the chaos. Fiziev's a Muay Thai fighter, doesn't really move his head a lot. And like I said, he's very fast, very explosive, and has power in his hands as well. The issue with Fiziev, though, is once he starts to slow down, though, he is there to be hit. I do think we're going to get another war between these two, and I think it will be another classic. I think Gaethje's boxing will give Fiziev trouble once again, like it did in this fight, just like it did in the first fight. Fiziev just slows down after the first round, and it's his Achilles heel. I just think this fight's going to come down to who uses more combinations. Both guys do their best work when they're using combinations. Also, how will Justin Gaethje's chin be now after such a brutal KO? If Gaethje's chin isn't the same, hopefully it can hold up a little bit in this fight. If not, he's going to be in real trouble because his fighting style just doesn't lend itself to avoid getting hit. I'm going to go with the highlight, Justin Gaethje, but the unknowns in this fight make it such a tough pick. And I do like the value of Justin Gaethje being the underdog here. In the main event, we have Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. Alex Pereira is 37 years old, 12-2, 5-0 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO win 4 months ago. Pereira lands 5.46 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.44. He has a 71% finish rate and is a minus 120 favorite. Magomed Ankalaev is 32 years old, 21, coming off a decision win 4 months ago. Ankalaev lands 3.64 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 2.37. He has a 50% finish rate and is a plus 100 underdog. This is the fight we've been waiting for. We finally get to see if Alex Pereira's grappling will hold up or will it be his Achilles heel. Magomed Ankalaev has some grappling, but he really is a striker. Ankalaev averages less than 1 takedown per 15 minutes at 0.92 to be exact. He has 9 total takedowns in 14 UFC fights, and he also has a 31% takedown accuracy. Ankalaev also has no submission wins and doesn't even have any submission attempts on his resume. Alex Pereira is one of the best strikers in the UFC, if not the best striker in the UFC. He'll also enjoy a 4-inch reach advantage. We did see Ankalaev use some wrestling in the Jan Blachowicz fight, but he's not really a finisher on the ground, and he pretty much just controlled Blachowicz. In that fight, even when he used the wrestling, it wasn't his plan A. It was more so his plan B after his legs got chewed up from all the inside leg kicks from Jan Blachowicz. There's definitely a path to victory for Ankalaev where he uses his wrestling and the fight is very boring. I don't think Ankalaev is going to come out with a wrestling heavy approach. I can see him playing around on the feet, and then if he starts getting clipped up a little bit by Alex, then he'll try to start to wrestle. One of Alex Pereira's best weapons are his leg kicks, but I don't think they're going to play a big role in this fight with the orthodox versus southpaw matchup. Pereira still uses leg kicks when he fights southpaws, but he uses lead leg kicks. And these don't have as much power on them as his rear leg kicks. I know Ankalaev's legs got chewed up against Blachowicz, but Jan used inside low kicks, and that's just not a part of Alex's game. He just does not use inside low kicks. Will we finally see Alex Pereira's takedown defense has gotten any better? That's really going to be the big question of this fight. If Ankalaev gets the takedown, will Pereira just try to get back to his feet, or will he try to play it safe on the ground and just wait it out to the end of the round? Guys, you know me. I'm a huge Alex Pereira fan. I'm going with Alex Pereira. Ankalaev has said countless times he isn't going to wrestle, and I believe him. His fighter stats bear it out. The guy isn't a wrestler, and I'm going with the better striker. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate it. Questions, comments, feedback is always welcome. Let me know what you think in the comments, and as always, until next time.